what I thought I'd do is I could maybe explain a little bit about how we got here, what our story is, and specifically in relation to Equinix and to Mode themselves. So there are two data points that we talk about when we start talking about the edge, and I'm not going to try and define it, so we don't want to fall into that trap. But from an Ericsson perspective, we also do our own version of VNI. Just a little plug there for everybody. But we can actually predict that there's going to be about 8.5 billion mobile subscribers and almost 30 billion connected devices by 2022. At the same time, somebody else that writes data and reports, Gartner, is predicting that 50% of all enterprise data is going to be processed outside of centralized clouds by the same date. So that leaves Ericsson to the conclusion that, or Edge Gravity the conclusion that we don't think the internet's going to scale. Okay, so we don't think it's going to be able to scale to meet the demands, the innovation, all the ideas that people are having, and it's going to need the service provider edge to be able to scale properly. And to sort of just slow down a little bit on that, on the way in today on the bus, we took a bus from the hotel, and it was taking quite a while. And I was chatting to one of our account managers, and he said, when I think about the edge, Alan, I think about cities. And I was like, really, you think about cities? And I thought, are we going to have a conversation about smart cities and IoT and all these? And it wasn't. It was nothing like that. He said, originally, the city was built, and we needed to get around the city, and we had horses and we had carts, and the horses pulled the carts around the city to get to where we wanted to get within it. And he says, but as we wanted to go further, we want to go there faster. We adopted. We eventually created cars, and we created bigger cars, and cars are capable of doing more things, going further. But the cities more or less stayed the same. They never really expanded beyond what the city's main role was. And now we've got to the point where if we want to go anywhere in the city, we can't get anywhere fast. It takes forever, and it's a real pain. And he said, and if you look out the window, Alan, he said, you'll see there are people on electric scooters, there are people riding their bikes. I didn't see any on one of those ones where you stand and it just sort of, the two wheels. But the point is that the density of the city has got so bad that people are looking for alternative ways to get to where they need to get as quick as possible, because they're not getting the performance on their time that they need, right? And I was like, this is a brilliant idea. Can I steal it? And he said, yes, you can steal it. I said, thank you. So anyway, so with that, I'm going to move on a little bit. So what are we doing at Edge Gravity? So when I think about Edge Gravity, I like to maybe think a little bit more philosophical about some parts of it, and other parts are, very practical. There's a technology there which has a very real purpose. The first bit is the ecosystem, and the second is the platform. So we created this thing called the Unified Delivery Network, and I'll come a little. Have any of you heard about the UDN before? Have you heard that term? Okay. So over time, that's had a different meaning, and I will touch on that. But what we've done is we've created an ecosystem of almost approaching 100 service providers. And these are not just mobile ones, as you'd expect from perhaps Ericsson, but this is a combination of fixed, mobile, and including cable. So we have quite a good spectrum. And we're not limiting ourselves to that either. But the thing about the ecosystem is that it's different. It's not that we've just sort of collected them and we've signed them up to, yes, we'll be in the Edge Gravity Club and we're going to be partners. We've actually created an ecosystem that's a little bit different. We have more of a shared revenue model. So we're not selling our service provider partners anything. Well, they're not partners that we sell to. We're actually including them in the value chain, and the reason for that is that they're actually providing a far greater quality of service for the applications that we run at the service provider edge. So they are incentivized, they're included, and it's valuable. And it's valuable to the applications that want to run on there as well. Now, I did draw this slide, it's true. I did draw it, but I borrowed it as well. I borrowed it from NIST. So I was on a course a long time ago, and they said if you're ever going to draw an architecture, make sure you can reference some big established thing that people will believe is a credible source. So this is the definition of the edge by NIST. See how I did that, Jim? Okay, so the UDN is hierarchical by design. So why do I say that? Well, there are multiple points of presence, which can be an execution environment for running workloads or delivering traffic from. And we work within these green bits. So we're not trying to replace the public clouds. We're certainly not looking at getting into sensor information and IoT gateways, so that's somebody else's thing. What we need to do is sit in the middle, and we need to have a strong partner that can help us with our core network, which I'll come on into a moment. And then we have all our service providers that link into that core network, and that's where we get our real-time performance, super low latency, the ability to act on data whilst it's relevant, and all those kind of cool things. So today, the Unified Delivery Network is supporting what we consider to be the world's first global scale edge platform, and we call that Edge Gravity Edge Cloud Platform. And it has a global reach into the service providers. So at the minute we have about 85. I even heard we've signed up more to be part of our ecosystem whilst we've been at Mobile World Congress. And we have 22 core nodes that are spread across the globe, which are all interlinked via an MPLS network. This, you may think, well, hang on, I thought we were talking about edge computing here. Why do you need all this? And that's because when we think about the edge, we're not just saying, right, we're going to put some software right here, and all the use cases are just going to be focused on that node at the edge of somewhere, and we're scratching our heads thinking about an application. For us, it's part of an end-to-end distributed system. So it's connecting the edge to other relevant points of presence globally. So our services that we offer to our partners enable them to get a global reach, a global edge, not just a specific place somewhere. They can do that, but they also have the option to go global with it. So this brings me on to our partnership and relationship with Equinix. So I found out that the Equinix logo is a data center perspective, and fortress, that's it, a fortress. And you know what? Before I got into this part of the industry, I just thought data centers are where you put your racks and you put your hardware and you can run your things there. But what we have with Equinix and why we value the relationship is it actually believes in the same sort of vision, the same sort of passion that we have about enabling an ecosystem of shared value. And actually, when we have a challenge and we want to do something together, we can go to Equinix and actually talk about how we make that happen. Just today, I had a conversation about how we link this into other public clouds, and there's Equinix solutions that we can already leverage to make that actually happen easily. So I've kind of touched some of this about the distributed applications. So you can put an application wherever you want. I said you don't have to just put it at the edge. It's a distributed system. Let's just move forward a bit because I'm running out of time. There we go. So the Edge Gravity timeline I wanted to just touch on for you. So when it first came out, what we did is we proved our business model by offering a CDN application. So this was the great way to sort of show how we could do content delivery, and it's, video still makes up something like 90% of the traffic on the internet, so it's still a real problem. It's still difficult for people to monetize. So we came up with this idea at Ericsson that we could federate and bring all the operators together to do this, which is what we did. And it went live in 2017. We had all our 80 service providers signed up, and then we had our first tenants, which were Mode, Haste, and a company called Net Insight, so with doing various different types of application. And then this year, the end of last year, we finally got out of the CDN business because we don't want to be a CDN, and we signed up Limelight as our CDN service provider on top of the Edge Gravity platform. So, as I say, Edge Gravity is live today. We're not focusing on use cases that are fanciful or demonstrate the cool things you can do with the edge, but in in isolation that won't be revenue generating in the near term. We're very much focused on providing a revenue funnel for service providers. We're not looking to do anything that doesn't address that. And we are now, and my main job is to be going around looking for other application providers and other service providers that want to start thinking about all the cool things that we talk about, like artificial intelligence, industrial IoT, automotive, and so on. Okay, so thank you.